There we go. All right, guys, it's the guy with the bow tie checking in with you live for another edition of Business with Benefits. Thank you for joining us. I want to say thanks to hashtag Team Live, hashtag Team Replay, however you consume the content. We appreciate it. And to my right, we have Mark Galvin, which actually came with us on Link Lunch yesterday. How you doing, Mark?
Hey, man, it's good to be here. I'm great. Good. It's Friday.
There you go. It's always good when it's a Friday, especially with everything going on nowadays.
I tell you what, absolutely.
But thanks for joining me, Mark. You got to join us on Link Lunch yesterday, so it's my first time interacting with you before getting on this now. So for the people that don't know who you are and know what you do with regards to EPresence, let them know who you are and why you know something about social presence online.
Cool, man. So, I'm the founder and president of EPresence, and EPresence is a full-service social media agency. So what do? We manage social media from wherever it is that you need social media help, we help with that. So be it company, individual, even collegiate social media, we help college kids figure out how to get off of Snapchat and TikTok. Well, actually, TikTok's going to be solved for them. But anyway, and then get on the LinkedIn and how do you get a job? And we do interviews and all that fun stuff. So what makes us unique as a social media management firm is we do all the stuff that typical social media management firms do. But we also manage the C-suite or manage the executive or the owner or an individual who wants to be on social media, who knows that LinkedIn's important, but they don't want to do it themselves. So we'll drill in and drive through a personal social media account and keep it active.
Perfect. And I think it's important for people to understand a full service suite. I'm over here behind the scenes. This is my CNN job while I'm in the day. But I wanted to get the comments caught up real quick first. I started asking you questions. So real quick from the audience, let us know where you are, if you're team live, team replay, and where you're watching from. We have Miss Wilma. She said, very interesting. Thanks, Wilma, for jumping on here. And then D. Lynn, she's team live. Thanks for jumping in, D. So with social media presence, you have this term you made, EPresence. So define for people what EPresence is in case they're not familiar with that term.
Well, we're all used to being physically present, right? And so presence is your digital presence. So this is that presence that you have online, because we all have brands online, whether you like it or not. Have you ever Googled someone? If you couldn't find them on LinkedIn, you Googled them and you probably found a picture of them. We all have some sort of digital presence. E-presence is that thing that you have to manage either personally or for your company, because and you know what, Daryl, you do a great job at this. You understand how to leverage your online presence to create a better brand, to achieve whatever your mission is. You're doing it by leveraging your e-presence.
Oh, thank you. It seems like it's just a hobby sometimes to people, but it is basically, that's one to be seen. I mean, because when you think about any sales organizations, the problem usually isn't the product, is lack of customers, and lack of customers comes from lack of visibility.
Right.
So as you're going through this process with people, what are the typical kind of clients that come to you? They're usually the manufacturing or IT, or what's the niche that you usually work with a lot?
Yeah. So this probably surprised you a little bit because of my history. I came out of the hotel business. I have a lot of clients in the hospitality space, be it executives or hotels that need help with driving their social media. We do a lot of that work, but we're seeing more and more professional services are coming to us, be it lawyers or other folks that are in the consulting side. A lot of coaches, we're getting a lot of individual coaches that are coming to us, asking us to help them drive their personal brand because they are the brand of their company. So we kind of have a mashup of those. Did a lot of work with restaurants, and some of that has waned because of where we are today. But restaurants need to have that B2B piece. They got to be on Facebook. They have to constantly let people know they're there and stay in front of folks. So that's kind of a good sampling. Our very best client, I love that. This is funny. When I started, I thought we're interested in people who aren't interested in social media, don't know how to do it, and aren't there. Well, they have to be there. It's something we've learned. If you're not already on social media, you don't get it. And we cannot tell people why social media is important. They have to understand that already.
And that's what I bring an interesting question for you and the audience. So do you think your digital presence is more important than your physical presence? Because obviously with COVID-19, I haven't seen my physical office since March 20th or so.
Right.
So what do you working in the field? I mean, you come from before social media was a thing. What do you think is more important if you had to pick one of the two?
Yeah, I wouldn't say either or. I'd say it's and in both, because
Okay.
this is quasi physical, right?
Yeah.
When I land on your LinkedIn profile for the first time, what I do is I go and I look at your picture and I interact with your picture. We forget we are still physical beings, but we can use a digital presence to promote our physical self. So
Mm.
what I recommend that all of you do is create some sort of digital presence that includes video, that includes some sort of representation of yourself. Because if it's just purely a digital component where you don't have any, there's no video of you, no photos, it's hard to connect with you because we're still human beings. So be human, be active, be on your social media and show yourself in whatever it is that you do, especially if you're work. If you wear a bow tie, show up in your bow tie. So this is all, and it's all part of branding, right? So think about this, Daryl. People call you the guy with the bow tie because you've worked that brand. It is something you are known for, which is very smart. And I think that that's a brilliant thing to do, but you're doing it physically, right? You are physically
Yeah.
showing up with a bow tie. So to me, it's both.
I like that. And I wish I could say this was intentional. I had a pool of people and a review board and all that. It was just a big accident, but I've kind of just embraced it. And catching up with the audience real quick, we had Dee. She said she's tuning in from Fairfax, Virginia. So thanks for joining us from Virginia, Dee.
Welcome, Deeleen. I love that.
I'm a military brat, so Newport News is my quasi home. So that's where the family is in Newport News.
Rock on. That's
And
cool.
Tabang said he's team live. So you mentioned in the teaser for this, and I hope this is what people are going to pay attention the most, because there's a few things that are vital for a LinkedIn profile to kind of make it work. And I think people that came from before LinkedIn was what it is now, they thought just put your resume, just put your experience, stuff you're interested in, that's it.
Sure.
But that's important. But what are some vital areas that people are missing that helps them get that 400% exposure you mentioned?
So recently, well, somewhat recently, LinkedIn changed the summary section of your profile to something called the About section. In fact, in parts of LinkedIn, you'll see it still referred to as summary if you're looking for help. And here's what's important about this is that LinkedIn has decided to make your LinkedIn profile your personal website. When you go to a website these days, you go in, you're learning about a company, you'll go and you'll look for the About section to see something about that company. Your LinkedIn profile is now your personal webpage. So when I go down your page, you better have an About section. It's not automatically there. You have to fill it out. But that piece shows it is your personal website. And if it's your personal website, if you had a company and you had your own website you're developing, you've got to keep it active. You got to update it. You got to have active blogs. You've got to keep it active. So your profile should not be stagnant. Hey, Daryl, how many people are active on LinkedIn? What percentage of the users out there are actually active at least once a month? They're on the platform once a month doing something.
I know posting is 1% for posting. I know that much.
So activity, right, liking or stuff, 40%. It's right around the 40% range. It wanes up and down. So what are the other 60% of people doing? They've got an account. They're looking people up. They're going to your personal website and looking at you on the site. They may not interact with a post. They may be just looking at things going by, but that's how most people are interacting on LinkedIn. So you want to make sure that your profile is active, that you're changing content, you update content. You do this. You are activating your the new featured section. Notice this. Brand new, not brand new, but it's a new section on the profile where you can add current content and just kind of plug it in. And it's almost like a running feed, but you still control that. That's another way to keep your personal website, i.e. your LinkedIn profile active. So you do all those things. Here's what happens. The algorithm on LinkedIn gets jazzed. It's like throwing crack on it. And all of a sudden it just blows up because people are going to start seeing you and they're going to say, who is this bow tie guy? They're going to land on your profile and you'll see your profile views go up because you're doing all those things. Active profile, having an active feed is important, and doing things like this for you is helpful. But you get the gist. All of that plays into your ultimate goal of getting in front of more people and building your network. So, Daryl, how did we meet?
We met through comments. I believe it was commenting on a few different things, and you said hi to me, and I said hi to you about your podcast, and we just
On
met each other
LinkedIn.
through comments. Yep.
Right. We have never physically met each other. So, and I
Nope.
always love to bring that up when it happens because you can develop relationships online. Now, you're in Atlanta, aren't you, or no?
Ackworth, but yeah, you can say Atlanta.
So we're eventually going to have a cup of coffee together. We're going to meet. I know we will, right? I've never met Marcello as an example. Definitely
Right.
going to need to meet up with him sometime. But this is really cool. We are able to develop relationships online. So, you know what? Take advantage of it. It's a good idea.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned these actionable things because sometimes people make it a mystery. And I think about my webpage. Like for a while, I'm like, I need to make a webpage. But I kept going back to, I won't get the same views on a webpage that I get on my LinkedIn profile.
Right.
So I feel like I'm dumping money into a pit. But some industries need a webpage. So how do you navigate that as you work with clients? Are you telling them to have a webpage too? Or are you kind of saying go all in on social media?
You know what? The first question I have to ask someone is, who's your audience? And if someone if someone's audience is inherently older, right, and that demographic is going to lend themselves to going to Google first and search them, then you got to have a web page. So a web page it's no longer necessarily just a storefront. A web page is it gives you legitimacy. So I think you have to have a website if you're going to have a company. Now, you could do a one-page website, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So having a one-page website works today, and you can drive everybody from your website to your social media. So it could be stagnant, but you ought to be where your audience is going to look for you, and you can always direct them into wherever you want to spend most of your time, like LinkedIn, like a LinkedIn company page, if that's what you want. But here's what is more dangerous than a stagnant website is a stagnant LinkedIn page. So you've done this. You've landed on somebody's LinkedIn page or a company page, and what you found is, you're wondering if they're there, right? This looks old. The cobwebs are on the screen, the whole bit. That's more dangerous because then you don't think, you question whether that's where you should be spending your time. You don't really do that on a website, which is interesting, but we don't think that on most websites.
Yeah, and then Carl is actually in the hospitality industry. He would agree.
Oh,
so
hot dog, Carl. Carl, come back. What do you do in the hospitality business? Send us a little note on that. I'm curious. That's a tough space. 70% of the people in the hospitality business are no longer working. So we need to support our hospitality folks. Hey, listen, anyone, if you're out there, you're thinking about going on a trip, maybe you drive there, do it. Go out there, these hotels, these restaurants, if we can get into them, you got to be safe. Yes, wear a mask, but let's make sure we're taking care of our hospitality folks. There's a lot of people who are out of work. And at the end of July, they're going to lose that extra $600 a week. So this is a tough time.
Yeah, and Carl and I met through comments engaging. So Carl, definitely let us know so we can help support that.
Yeah, Ben, please do.
Matthew thanks for bringing the important topic to us. And you're welcome, Matthew. I thought this is important because some people get it, and I'm a geek with LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn since 2010. So any new feature, I'm probably trying it. I'm using it to some regard. But a lot of people, like when you said the cobwebs, if I see 6 months since you posted or a month since you liked something, I do kind of like back off a little bit because I have a limited number of connections I can add at this point, and I don't want to have it to just dead space and nothing happening. So for people that are trying to build their network, there's a big thing about being intentional. When you're teaching your clients to kind of have the page up to date, there's also building connections. So how do you coach them onto building their connection base to the right kind of people?
Yeah, so you have 22,000 connections.
I think I hit 23 yesterday.
You hit 23 yesterday. All right. So if the question, and everybody should know this is important. When you reach 30,000 connections, you're done. You have to get people out to add new connections. So when I talk to folks like you, I encourage them, when you get to 25,000, you need to be a lot more discerning on who you connect with. For the general rule is simply this: look at a connection request that comes in. If this person can help you today, in 5 years, or in 10 years, you should connect to them. So what does that mean? It means if there's a competitor who wants to connect with me, should I connect with them? Yes, you absolutely could, because maybe that competitor could help me get a job in the future. Or maybe that competitor moves industries and respects me and refers business to me. So I think actually there's another. We're among friends here, right? I'm going to tell you a secret. Right? This is between us. Connect with competitors, and then you can look at their connections, and you may be able to find clients from their connections. Now, can you turn that off?
Yeah.
Yes. But a lot of people don't. So look at a competitor, connect with them. You might be able to find out who some of their clients are because they're connected to their clients. You can search their connections if they have not turned that off. But I always like to look at, can they help me today? Can they help me in 5 years or 10 years? I'll give you an example of a group that a lot of people say they don't like to accept connections from, and those are financial planners. So financial planners are always asking for connection requests, and people say, nope, not interested. Well, I love connecting to financial planners, and here's why. Their target audience are high net worth individuals. Well, that's my target audience too. As soon as I connect to them, I have a better shot of showing up when their clients do a search for social media management or LinkedIn expert. So I'm thinking, who are their connections, and can those connections potentially reach out to me for help? So it all comes back to something I said a little while ago. Who's your audience, and how can you best connect to your audience? And sometimes you can connect to your audience through a connection. There are a lot of fake profiles that are out there. So I do encourage you to make sure that they look real, and that's a big key. That here's the reason that you don't want to connect to someone who's not real. It's because they're connecting to your connections, and your connections could end up potentially connecting to someone who's not, who may have nefarious goals. There was this article that came out from the AJC not that recently, but the Chinese were recruiting spies on LinkedIn. So exactly. So that's one of those things that we have to be aware of. And the Chinese are not just interested in penetrating our government. They want to get into U.S. companies and try to pull information from those companies. So be careful for that sort of thing. If something looks a little suspicious, it probably is.
Yeah, like for me, I usually won't accept if there's no picture. I won't accept it, like no matter who it is, there's no picture. Or if it's like a logo, sometimes I'm kind of like, well, where's your face? Like show who you are. So there's a couple little things people to pay attention to if they've never posted anything. Like you click in their profile and you see there's no post whatsoever, no liking. It's like, you've been on here this long and never done anything.
Right.
So definitely look to make sure before you connect. And to catch up with the audience, Carl let us know, love learning different ideas in hospitality. Sadia, if I butcher anybody's name, I apologize. Sadia said, hello, everyone. And Carl added, thank you again. Love working with a different variety of people, hotels, restaurant services. Okay, so Carl's a Renaissance man in the hospitality industry. And all about making a huge impact. Oh, Wayne, this is the good one. Bitcoin. Yeah, when I see a Bitcoin trader, I try to walk the line with that. When I get a Forex or Bitcoin connection, they usually pitch me like really quick. I don't know if you get this, Mark, but they'll pitch me like, have you ever done Bitcoin before? You ever know about Forex? Like within an hour of connecting. So I'm picky with those ones.
That makes good sense. Now I haven't had a lot of Bitcoin people that hit me. I get a lot of digital marketers, which is interesting. And there's a lot of that. There's those third-party apps out there that's that LinkedIn automation. That drives me crazy. I got in 5 days, actually, they didn't do it on the weekend. I got a message from someone I connected them on Thursday. They sent me a message Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And it was just, it's automated and it's nauseating. Here's what really worries me the most about this. Daryl, you and I like LinkedIn and we appreciate the value that it brings to our network. If a lot of this LinkedIn automation happens, people are going to see it as work. And they're going to stop wanting to get on there. They're going to say, oh, this is another burden. Here's another something that caused me stress every time I land on LinkedIn and I've got 50 notifications from people who are just trying to solicit me. That worries me long term. What does that do to LinkedIn with these systems, these LinkedIn automation systems?
Yeah, because it'll turn people off. You're right. And then a good thing, they're going to kind of segue with this. So you mentioned the featured section about us, or not about us. I'm thinking about a webpage about what are the other key things that help boost people's visibility on their profile?
So, something that people don't think about is the headline is, it's easy to say the headline's important and people will nod and smile and say, yes, that headline, that line right below your name is the most important part of search inside LinkedIn. So I encourage you to put words there that will help people find you. So if you're looking for a job, here's a first example. If you're looking for a job, make sure that you have your title in there. Now, LinkedIn tells you put your title and your company in there. I don't think you need to have your company name in there, but definitely put a title if you're looking for a job, because recruiters are going to search for titles. Now, if you're not looking for a job, though, that line, it's 220 characters long. This just changed. LinkedIn used to only allow you to put 220 characters from your mobile phone, your mobile app. Now you can do it right for the website. So I encourage folks, create a list of 20 words, rank them from 1 to 20, 1 being the most important, 20 being the least important. And these are the search engine optimization words. What words will someone use to find what you do, Daryl, right? What words will they use? Get those in there on that top line, on that header. And here's why. It's because when they go searching for somebody that has your skill set, if you're connected close enough to them and you're active and LinkedIn thinks you're important enough, they'll serve you up as a potential connection. If they're if they meet you and they forget who you are, or they forget your name, or maybe they only remember your first name, when they're typing in your first name and they plug in a search term, are they going to find you? So leverage that first line so people can track you down.
I can attest to that being true. Go ahead, though.
Go ahead. Tell me. Give me your. Tell me how you know it's true.
Sure. Oh, so basically, if anybody watches financial services and LinkedIn or insurance, not many people are posting. I mean, I'm probably one of the few insurance people you see on here daily. And I had a young man find me from Ohio. He just looked up insurance on LinkedIn. We weren't connected. He looked up insurance, and then he messaged me like an in-mail and said, "Hey, I want to talk to you about my book and work together on a couple things." And I said, "Oh, how'd you find me? Was it the show?" He said, "No, I haven't seen your show. I just looked up insurance, and you're the first one that popped up." And we're not connected at all. I think he was a third-degree connection. Wow. So I can attest that it does happen. If you're consistent enough, it ranks you higher. The SEO's there. And I have people from other states all the time that just find me. And I always think it's this, but it's not. Sometimes it's just my content's out there. So definitely, if you want to be seen, at least just show up consistently. That's a big thing with this.
You bet. So what I think are the 5 top areas. You have that headline. The about section is really important. That's your online brochure. So make sure you fill out the about section. It's roughly 2,000 characters. So that's an important thing to fill out. You need to have a profile picture. It needs to be good, right? Make sure you have a great profile shot. If you're interested in, if you're not sure what a good profile picture looks like, or you're a little squeamish about your own profile pictures, go to a website called photofeeler.com. Photofeeler.com. It's a crowdsourced site. You can drop in your own picture, and random people will tell you whether that's a good picture or not.
Great site. Yeah, I just did that like 2 weeks ago. Awesome site to see if you look good.
It is fantastic. And I will tell you what's important is you need to make sure you can see your eyes. So your eyes have to appear well. What do I say? So headline about your experience section is really important. This is something interesting. A lot of people will go to their experience and they'll drop in a description of what they do, right? So you're in insurance sales. What if you went and you said, this is what I do in insurance sales, and I do this, and I'm looking to grow revenue here, and I sell these products. Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody searches for that either.
No. And when they get there, what I want to know is what makes you stand out. And so if you're looking for a job, it needs to be what you've achieved. So share, increase revenue by a certain percent, or lower turnover from XYZ. Found, ran an advertising campaign and revenues grew by 30% after that. Real, tangible things that you've done versus describing your job, because people know what you do, right? We all kind of have that idea. If you have a job that needs a description, to describe it. That always comes up as a question. And then the skills section, that's turned out to be a pretty important space, especially for job searching. Yeah. Because the skills further down, you can add those in there, and people endorse you when you apply for a job, and it tells you that you are 80% qualified for that job. It's pulling it from the skills section. So that's become more and more important. They're figuring out how to leverage, how to plug that into the recruiting piece of LinkedIn to help you look more qualified. And all the recruiters are searching for you using those skills in your headline. So you got to make sure those are optimized.
This makes a perfect segue then, because Sadia put in the question. She said, I was reading on my feed earlier that maybe it's not a good idea to show that you were looking for a job on LinkedIn, as recruiters tend to go for people who are already working. What's your input on this matter?
So Dia, I'm glad you're asking this, and it came up recently in one of my webinars. And I was a little surprised when someone said this. So if you look at my feed, you'll see I asked this question, and I put on there recruiters only. And I asked that exact thing. And here's what they've all come back with. Most of the recruiters want to know that you're looking for a job. So the overwhelming response that I got, well, over 70% said it is better to say you're looking for a job. And you've got that function. You go to the settings and you can say that you're open for work, right? You can go in and say you're open to recruiters. Open that up on your profile after you've done that in settings, and you can say you're open for work. It is a good idea, because you are making it easier for a recruiter. Here's what's important. This is so important. A lot of us have had recruiters call us, and we don't always treat them with respect. We may not really be nice to them. Well, what happens when you're not nice to that recruiter and they have the job that you want? So I would encourage you, number one, don't say you're open for work unless you really are. Don't say you're looking for a job unless you're really looking for the job. Because you could burn a relationship with a recruiter and they're not going to call you next time. So say you're open for work if you truly are. And when that call comes in and it's a job that you're interested in, definitely put your name into the hat. If you're not open for work, then don't use that function. You will burn a relationship with recruiters. And my wife is a recruiter, and I know she knows who not to call. And so you burn that relationship and they don't call you back.
There are some reactions for that. You got some inside information today from an actual spouse of a recruiter, so he knows firsthand what ticks her off. But there are some reactions for that, people. And then something important I think about that too is that recruiters have to call a lot of people, so you're kind of shortening the list or moving yourself up the list, saying, hey, I'm top priority, because yes, they might want somebody working, but let's face it, somebody working could be happy as a clam. So you could be wasting time calling that person. Wayne jumped in here. He says the bow tie. I guess when that guy searched me, maybe the bow tie made him find me. So thank you, Wayne, for that. Tabong had a good question to say, what can you say about nonprofits? So I guess I'm not sure exactly where he's going with that, but maybe he's talking about a nonprofit's exposure on LinkedIn. Tabong, give me some more details, but a nonprofit isn't really a sales organization. So what would you say about a nonprofit trying to get their e-presence up on LinkedIn or other social media?
Well, so here's the thing about nonprofits. They're all in the business of raising money, and you've got to have, your brand needs to be one that I believe in to give you money. So you need to have a presence, and you need to constantly share your mission. So all nonprofits have a very noble mission, at least all of them that I know of. And so share the nobility of your mission, and share why you're passionate about that mission. And the organization should do that. So the organization can push it to their page. And then what you can do is you can share it from that company page. Or if you are in charge of both ends, you make sure you're driving everything to the nonprofit's company page on LinkedIn, and then push stuff to the personal side. But build that brand. Let people know what your mission is. And then I would say, every 2 posts out of 10, so 8 should share your mission. 2 posts out of 10 sprinkled in there need to say, here's how you can support our mission. Don't constantly ask for money. I know you want my money, right? I know. And I know when you show me your mission that, gosh, these people are doing great work. They need my money to help them. After 8 posts, or what I do is I like, at 6 posts, go 6, number 7, ask for money. Go 8, 9, 10, ask for money, and then go back again and go 1 through 6, sharing what your mission is and why you're great at what you do.
There you go. So that's the process for people, because that is, if anybody's been following me for a while, they'll notice like Monday, Wednesday, Friday is my guest, and usually Tuesday and Thursday is me. And I kind of bake that out, and then the weekend's me. So have a process with your posting and everything. And something else Paulette said out there, great info. So thank you, Queen Paulette, for jumping in here. One thing I want to get to that's important. So you're building this e-presence, but there's always this allure people have. How do you make money on LinkedIn? How do you make customers? How do you get sales out of it? So You talked about it a second ago about throw some sales in there here and there. But is there something you're teaching on the back end to help people, like once they get this 400% jump, teaching them on the back end to help them convert to discovery calls or sales?
So there are the number one way to take LinkedIn and convert it into a sales engine is get LinkedIn Navigator. LinkedIn Navigator is it is a tag-on CRM system where you can find lookalike audiences. You can develop relationships with people that you don't know. That is, if you are looking to build sales, I'd make the investment for LinkedIn Navigator. Don't do it if you're not going to be committed to it. So commit to it and then focus on it, and it is very profitable. What I also encourage you to do is don't be slimy. So if you're reaching out to someone, don't send me a message and say, this is what I do. I think you can benefit from it. How about a phone call on Thursday or Friday? Now that used to work. And I believe that used to work because it was a great forced, not do you want to meet with me? When do you want to talk? But that is starting to wear out. What I would encourage you to do is hit someone and hit somebody and move on if you don't know them. So hit me and say, this is what I'd like to talk to you about this product. Are you interested? If I don't respond, move on, right? Mm-hmm. Either I'm dormant or I'm not going to respond to you. So there are a lot of systems that hit people again and again and again. I don't encourage that. Posting, very, very important. Don't sell in every post because then I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to turn you off. I'm going to unfollow you. What I think you should be doing every single time you post is you should be sharing why you are the subject matter expert, so that when I do want to buy, I call you. So if I need insurance and I need it and it comes up to it hits me, I'm going to call you, Daryl. Why? Because I see you all the time in my feed and you come across as the subject matter expert. So I'm going to pick up the phone and call you. That's how you build a sales funnel. Connect to your targets. This is something else hugely important. You meet a potential target that maybe it's a person you meet at a convention. Connect to them on LinkedIn. Most people don't have 22,000 connections. I'm just going to tell you, most people are not like Daryl, or 23,000.
I'm a nerd.
I got to make sure I give you that 23, right? And because if you got 23,000 connections, you're probably not going to see every single post that shows up in your feed. Most folks aren't that way, right? There are 500 or 400 people. Well, your posts are going to show up in front of them. So being that subject matter expert is so important. Why? So when they're ready to buy, they're going to call you. Nobody likes to be sold to, but everybody loves to buy. Be in front of them with content. So when they're ready to buy, they buy. I was going to say, here's something else. Great thing is connect to your competitors. Go and search their connections for potential clients. And so what you do, then you could reach out to them and and see if you can sell something to them. But you got to do it in a way that's honest and forthright. Don't try to have any kind of smoke and mirrors with them. I would be honest and say, I like it. And I would tell you, if you can build some personal connection there, it'd be great. I'll tell you something very funny. I say this all the time on my podcast. When someone sends me a message and say, hey, I heard your podcast today. I'd love to connect. I'm in. I you listen to my podcast. So getting a connection with someone is as simple as figuring out something that's personal with them and say, I think this is interesting. Don't make it rote. Don't say, I think that your company XYZ is interesting. No. You need to go a little deeper. And there are a lot of methodologies out there. You can do something personal and do something company. So look at their personal side, say something personal, then touch something on their company side, and say, I'd love to have a chance to talk to you about this product. What are you interested?
No, I agree with that. I saw one guy, he posted bad inbox messages that he gets. Like he screenshotted some really bad messages he got. So on my connection request I sent to him, I said, hey, I hope you don't put me on blast where I'm connecting with you. That's what I started with.
David, wasn't it?
I can't remember his name right now. It's a guy that runs an auto company in the Midwest.
Okay, it's a different guy. Yeah.
But I put that just as like tongue in cheek, and he's like, "Perfect, let's connect." Like, and that it was just a little thing to be tongue in cheek. If you see someone say something like that, like look at their feed, and anybody I genuinely want to connect with, I usually will do that. And even at the size I'm at, I still look like, I want to know that person. So I'm intentional and say something specific. So that's a huge tip for you guys. That if you really want to connect, I know it's easy to hit the plus button. And there's a place for that. But if you really want to make a connection with people, take the time, just like dating, and actually know something and bring up something relevant to them. And this is for all social media. I mean, if you're on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, try to be different and relevant to people. So I know you're doing, break down all the different ways you teach people, because you mentioned something earlier about a package you had for people that was a great price, in my opinion. But let people know all the different ways you're coaching and helping small businesses right now.
Thanks for asking. So we typically do webinars where we help somebody on LinkedIn, and we do these up to 5 people. Sometimes we've had 10, but that hardly ever happens. But around groups of 5, we charge $75 a head. Well, what we've done lately is, because of the coronavirus, there's so many people that need help on LinkedIn. We're doing those for $37.50. So if you'd like to join us for a 1-hour webinar, you get your profile shows up on the screen. And so we zoom in and we have everybody's profile. And we go through all the key areas on the profile to help them. Now, here's an important thing. We don't just say, this is what you need to do. We say, how do you do this? So how do you come up with a great headline? How do you write a good about screen? What do you need to say? We give it to you, and we give you some great content that you can take away with a clickable document. So if you get a little lost, like, gosh, I can't remember how to do that, there's the link right there in the document. You click on it, and you'll know how to do it.
Perfect. Okay, and what's the website for that again?
EPresence.me. EPresence.me, because it's all about you.
I like that. I feel like you said that a few times.
It is not .com. EPresence.me.
And there's Cello. I figured he's going to pop in here in a second. Hey, Cello, thanks for jumping on.
Cello. Hey, Cello, you have your hat on?
And then Matthew put great info. Thank you, Matthew. Oh, talk about the podcast. As a fellow podcaster, my show I convert to a podcast. I'm very backlogged because you're probably episode 78 or something, so I'm very behind on making this into podcast. But you have a podcast too, so talk about that for people.
Yeah. So one of the great, and I got to tell you, Daryl, one of the great things that you're doing, and you said this out loud recently, and I'd love to highlight and let everybody know that you're doing this as a wonderful thing for your community. Few people have LinkedIn Live channels like you do, and you are so nice that you let people come on like me to join your show and get onto LinkedIn Live. So thank you for that. I can't get a LinkedIn Live channel. Something happens when you're in social media. There's very few people that LinkedIn is giving that channel to. So what we do is we build it. It's on YouTube and Facebook. So we drop a Facebook Live, YouTube Live every week, roughly Thursday. And this is the mission. We share a little bit of news on social media, what's going on in the social media world. It's not just about LinkedIn. We talk about Instagram. We talk about Facebook. Facebook has really been in the news lately for the way that they are not flagging content. So that's that's a very interesting topic. TikTok in the news lately. Why? They're probably going to get booted out of the U.S. Hong Kong's already booted them, right? India.
Really?
It was India. India's closed it out. So those are the things that we talk about. We'll get into what's going on in social media so businesses can understand how they can leverage social media a little better. How can they make money on it? Should I be advertising on Facebook since everybody's leaving Facebook? We talk about those things and really flesh those out. That's the first half of the show. Back half of the show, we always bring on a guest that talks about social media. Now, you would be a good guy for a guest on our show because you could talk about how you use social media to succeed in business. And that's the key. We bring on people that have expertise, who can real life expertise, who are putting social media to work and making money on it. So 30-minute show, 15 minutes of news and talk about a little bit of that. And then we get into talk to our guest. I tell you, we typically run 40 minutes because I can't stop talking. But we drop them. We do them once a week and typically on Thursdays, and you catch them on all podcast channels. And it's How's Your EPresence is the name of the show.
I love the info on TikTok. I've been battling like, gosh, do I want to get a TikTok account? And then I saw YouTube is going to make their own YouTube Shorts, I think they call it, was the version they have.
Right.
So I was like, please, at least I already have a YouTube channel. That way I don't have to do something brand new.
Yeah, there will be a vacuum that somebody's going to try to fill because TikTok is going to go away. There's not a question in my mind. It is going to go away. And my 3 kids are going to riot when that happens.
So let's get into that. This isn't even what we're going to talk about, but this is
cool.
Gold, right? This is gold right here. So LinkedIn, a lot of people talk about TikTok. Like, you got to be on TikTok. It's organic growth, organic reach, and all that. So why is TikTok about to be gone?
So number one, TikTok's going to be gone because it's owned by a Chinese company. And what if you do some research on Chinese politics, there are no independent Chinese companies. All the companies in China are quasi-governmental, and the government controls who runs each of these companies. So that's the first thing you keep in mind. Once you understand, it's not like the U.S. They're all connected to the government. So all of the data that goes into TikTok is captured by the Chinese. Okay, how can that be bad? So
I see it's already. That's a very bad thing.
So I do believe one of the things that the Russians were doing on our social media, and China was doing, they're trying to divide us. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you, folks, we have to be very aware that other governments are trying to split us apart. Because if we fight each other, kind of like we're doing now, if we fight each other, we're not as strong. So their mission is to figure out a way to drive social media to push us apart. So they'll know if you've got TikTok on your phone, they know what you're doing and how you're interacting, and they'll know how to communicate with you. And they'll make sure you stop seeing stuff that is that maybe helps you believe in your local community. You know, they'll make sure you start seeing stuff that is from a competitive viewpoint because they want to upset you. Or maybe they don't want to show you that. Maybe they want to build you up where you are because your current silo that you live in is really negative.
Extreme,
right.
Yeah.
So the Chinese can use TikTok to do that. Now you'll hear all the folks at TikTok, and they have a U.S. leader allegedly. All these things are coming out, but I'm going to tell you, when you read the information about it, it is something that could potentially be a threat. I mean, we have a hard enough time trying to figure out how to make Facebook work better, right?
Right, and even that's pretty nefarious because even like Facebook, I don't like being on there because of that, siloing the information. Like, well, if you like this political affiliation, we'll only show you that. And I'm like, why do we have to do that? So you convinced me not to get TikTok, and even Marcello he said TikTok pulled out from Hong Kong. So
now here's what's interesting, and I'm glad Marcello brings this up. They pulled out of Hong Kong, or did the Chinese government say you're out of Hong Kong? And I think that the Chinese government probably felt like they were doing too much damage to the Chinese government, so they said you're out, and they pulled them out of Hong Kong. I'm not so sure that was TikTok pulling out, or if it was, or how that happened. I do think that the Chinese government had a little piece to do with that. To me, that's absolutely fascinating.
Well, that's a value bomb you gave me, because I'm literally always like, I need to make a TikTok, so no more for me.
Here's the thing about TikTok. Oh my, it is so entertaining. It is great. It really is great. So I get in the car, and I have deleted it from my phone since all this started. But I get in the car, and I have a 16-year-old daughter, almost 17-year-old daughter, and she's driving. And I'm over there on the passenger seat, and I'm going through TikTok. And I get one of these, you're on TikTok. Like, this stuff is cool. You're trying to cook some chicken, right? You need a chicken recipe. You can go on a TikTok and say, give me a chicken recipe. And they'll show somebody making it. That's awesome, right? It is a really, really cool app. That's why everybody is using it. It's gonna be pulled. Trust me.
Well, YouTube Shorts, pay attention for that, people.
There we go.
Sadi had do that 2 good questions here now. Are those advices, or is that advice regarding the LinkedIn profile improvements applicable only to U.S. or all over the world?
Okay. Well, that's a good question. So I am focused on the U.S., and I understand the U.S. Target market well. I can tell you this: the algorithm acts the same everywhere. So if you're trying to grow your presence on LinkedIn, the algorithm's going to act the same in one country as it is the other. Now, there are some countries that get some things that are unique, like Australia. I know Australia has this. Yeah, the stories are now in 3 countries. So that sort of thing happens, but the algorithm still works the same wherever you are. So yes, those methodologies would work. You have to understand culture and how people receive your information and make sure you're communicating and to the culture in the right way.
Okay, perfect. Good answer there. And then Miss Fatima said, "Hi everyone. I would like to share knowledge I've acquired on LinkedIn. How can I reach an audience that is interested in my content?" This is the magic. This is the holy grail of questions, Fatima. So you have a wealth of information. How do you have it reach your audience that's interested in your content? There's a lot to unpack there, but let's break it down.
Yeah, there is a lot. So the first thing that you should do, Fatima, is you should make sure you're connected to everybody in your current database. How do you do that? Take your data that you've got. You've probably got an email list. You can upload that into LinkedIn. Make sure you're sending connection requests to all those folks. Warning here for anyone who does that. LinkedIn, say you download your Outlook database. So you got a lot of people in there. In fact, I have 4,000 people in my Outlook database, and I upload that into LinkedIn. If I have 2 emails for Daryl and I'm connected to him on one of them, the other email is going to get an email from me that says, "Daryl, Mark Galvin would like to connect with you." And then Daryl's going to go, "I'm already connected to him." And so you're going to send me an email and you're going, "Mark, we're already connected." I'm warning you. Don't say, "Well, I set out this thing and I tried to get connected." Don't do that. Just respond, "Thank you, Daryl. I just wanted to make sure." Don't try to describe what's happening. You're going to freak people out. But when you upload that list, only do the emails. Don't do names and numbers and that. Don't give that to LinkedIn. And they're, per their policies, they're not supposed to store this data, but it's still data. So just upload emails and send out those connection requests. That's the first thing you should do. The next is, I would encourage you to join some groups and start sharing content in the groups. Now, I'm going to warn you, LinkedIn groups suck, but they're great, but they also suck. Here's why.
It's hard to find a good one, yeah.
Well, they got to be active. People have to go into the group to see that information, to see what's going on in the group. It's a little bit of a problem. I would do this. I'd go to Facebook and I'd go to Facebook groups because those work really well. And so you can go to Facebook groups and start to develop your own audience, and you can drive them to LinkedIn. Nothing wrong with that. You may want to think, if your audience is in fact on Facebook, maybe that's where you should spend your time. But you can use Facebook to leverage LinkedIn, and I do it frequently. I do it frequently for YouTube. The final thing is look at hashtags. And hashtags have followers. So do your go into the search bar, plug in hashtag in a word, type in hashtag entrepreneurs. You'll see when you hit search that there are roughly 400,000, 500,000 people following that hashtag. It's another way to reach a larger audience that you're not currently connected with. The final thing is build your network. So here you have a guy like Daryl. He's got 23,000 connections. Create your own little microcosm of friends that have strong connections on LinkedIn. So when you have something important to share, you can go to him and say, "Hey, Daryl, will you like this?" Now, sometimes you can tag them right on the post, which is perfectly fine. In fact, I did that for this show today. I tagged a bunch of my friends. But you can also create a private messaging group where you drop everybody in that group. You say, "Hey, guys, I just dropped something that's important to me. Will you guys like it?" And you put a link on it. I'll guarantee you those people are going to pop on it. And you just want Daryl to like the post. Just by liking it, he's pushing it to his 23,000 clients or contacts, I should say.
Now, Mark, don't get me tagged by everybody and their mom now. This is the new.
You got 23,000 connections. You want to help people.
I do. The tagging, it's starting to get random tags of like people I'm not even connected to. Like, who is that? So at least connect with me or follow me. Follow me or connect with me, and then we can talk about tagging.
Right.
But I think also, Fatima, a good thing too is know what your audience is interested in. All the hashtags and all that, actually know what your audience cares about. I think people get wrong all the time is they post like a flyer for a webinar, which is great, but why are they interested in it? Or they put their webpage, like why? Tell them, things that are interesting to them. Because what I talk about is frequently not insurance products. It's like everything but. So that's a big thing for anybody watching this, and make sure you know what your audience cares about. Probably. And Marcello, the pivot of a salesman, you put out there, join us for Link Lunch. So thank you, Marcello, for plugging Link Lunch. And we had a great show. I want to plug real quick before we get out of here. Next Tuesday, I'm doing an event, Professionally Black. I've decided that the narrative, some people don't know what it's like as a Black professional, what the differences are. and the things that people of color go through. So it's kind of like an open forum for people of color and people not of color to understand how to be in the office or to be proud of your culture and not be rude with it and things like that. Just what it's like as a Black professional. So that's Tuesday, 12 to 2 Eastern time. If you're in a different country or time zone, I can't help you, but I know it's 12 to 2 Eastern time. But Mark, thank you. The podcast was how's your EPresence? We had something else we had put up here. Oh, your handles. Everywhere else people can find you.
So here's the other thing. Have one handle, folks. Go out and grab one handle that you can use everywhere. So my handle is EPresenceMG. This is Twitter. This is LinkedIn. This is Facebook. This is Instagram. I have one handle. And you know what? It is easy to remember because it's my company name and my initials. So figure out one that works well for you, and don't plug your company name in there if you're not sure what's going to happen in 5 years, 10 years or more. Get a durable handle that you can use forever, and then make it universal. So anyway, connect with me. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you on YouTube. I have the same spot. You name it. Twitter, Instagram. Love to get connected with you guys.
And guys, look at that webinar. So, I mean, for $37.50, that's a great deal to get an actual pro with social media. So if you need help with it, we gave you some high level stuff, but to get that actionable deep dive, definitely take advantage of that webinar.
Rock on. Thanks, Daryl.
No problem. Mark, thank you. You guys be safe. We're still in the middle of this pandemic, so please physically distance, be safe, and make smart decisions while you're out there. And we will catch you next time on Business.